Hello everyone, today I'm here to talk to you about Odin, which is a brand new small box card game from Helvetiq. Let's go over roughly how the game plays and then I'll give you my thoughts and feelings on it, and just know it was provided to me by Helvetiq for the review. In Odin you are Vikings at war and, well, your hand is a little bit like your tribe. Starting a round off, one player will play a single card from their hand to the middle of the table. Then, going clockwise around the table, play continues. The next player must either play a single card of a higher value, or they must combine two cards to create a two-digit number that is also going to be higher than the single value. An example of this is that the player has played a value 4 into the middle of the table. The next player may play a number that's 5 to 9, or from two cards in their hand create a bigger number. If you're creating a bigger number, it must be cards of the same colour or of the same number. When doing this, you must always do the highest number. So while you could combine an orange 1 and 9 into a 19, it actually would become a 91 because that's higher. Two cards that are the same number but not the same colour can also be combined. So these two 5s, for instance, they could become 55. And, well, that would be a single card in the middle. When two cards are in the middle, you can either play two cards by combining them to create a bigger number, or you could play three numbers and combine them. Again, they have to either be the same number or the same colour for you to do that. Importantly, whenever you choose to play cards, it doesn't matter how many you play, into the middle you must take one that was already there. So at the start, well, there's only going to be one card, you have to take that one. But when the numbers get a little bit bigger, let's say on the table is 54, you would be able to choose to take the 5 or the 4 into your hand after you've played a higher number. The other thing that you might have to do or want to do on your turn is pass. Well, this means your turn is completely skipped. You don't have to take a card from the middle, but you don't also play anything. It's passing, right? The round can end in a number of different ways. If, once you've played cards, everyone has passed and it's come back to you, the cards in the middle are discarded and you start a new round by playing a single card from your hand. Another way for it to end is if someone plays their last cards, well, instead of picking a new one up, the round is over and it goes to scoring. There is another way that this can happen, is if you're about to start the game off with playing one card, but all of your cards are the same colour or number, you can effectively sort of do a special start and get rid of them that way. And then you go on to scoring. The person that gets out, well, they're going to get 0 points. Everyone else counts up the number of cards they've got remaining, and that's the number of points they get. From this, you may gather that points aren't great. And actually, in the default game, in the standard mode, you're going to be going to 15 points. Once someone has reached or exceeded that number at the end of a round, the game is over, and whoever has the fewest points at that moment wins. It does allude in the rulebook that if you want a slightly shorter or a slightly longer game, you can. You can adjust that 15, maybe down to 10, up to 20. It's sort of up to you. But by standard rules, it's 15 is that cutoff. So now we know how to play Odin, let's jump into the review and give you some pros and cons. First of all, a huge pro is that it's super simple to teach and players pick it up really quickly because you are effectively on a turn looking at your cards, maybe looking at the same colour or the same numbers and trying to play a value that's higher. It's only allowed to be one digit bigger, so you can't go from 1 to 356 or something like that. No, you can go from one digit to a two-digit number, but it's really intuitive that you are just basically trying to create a bigger number, and you always have to arrange your cards when you're playing them into the biggest number possible. There is that slight caveat rule, which I'm not a huge fan of caveat rules, of if this specific thing happens. In this case, if you're starting a round off and all your cards are the same number or colour, you can get on that out in a special way. I'm not a huge fan of those sort of rules because it's an extra thing for players to remember. But this rule set is so small and simple, actually, and it doesn't happen that often, it's kind of okay that it's there. So as a whole rule set, it really does mean you're going to get this game out of the box, shuffle the cards, and while you're dealing, you can pretty much teach the entire game. And, well, then when it comes to the end of a round when someone's got out, you can say, right, this is sort of bad for you. You don't want points, and you can top those up. I particularly like the fact that same number combinations are allowed, because it just gives enough wiggle room and adds to the choice. The annoying choice on your turn of once you've played cards, you've got to pick something up from the middle. It's a frustrating thing. Oh, you don't want more cards, but when you've got them on the table there and you're having to choose something, well, it's a really good choice to make. Oh, that 5 is in the right colour, for instance, to go into my hand so I can make a big number later on. Or maybe neither of them are working, but oh, actually, I've already got that. If I take that 4, I've got some 4s in my hand. I could use that same number. So that just gives enough wiggle room that you're not always caring about just the colour, and you have that opportunity sometimes to get rid of a few cards of different colours, and that feels quite good when you do that, because normally if you've got a handful of different colours, you're gonna struggle to get out a lot of cards onto the table because you're not going to be able to make big numbers. So that sort of extra twist of all the same number just frees you up a little bit without making it super simple and you never having to pass. And passing is actually very strong because of having to pick up cards. You look in the middle and you're like, right, well, if I pick either of those cards up, it's actually going to be really hard for me to play them. Passing can be worth it in that case, and obviously it also means I can't play anything, I have to pass. So there's a, it goes around the table, and if everyone's passing, those cards get wiped and we sort of start afresh from a low value card. So it sort of triggers two things. A, it sort of means every now and again the pile in the middle is reset back down to a lower number, but it also does give players that golden opportunity to go, I don't want Ed to pick up either of those cards or any of those cards that are in the middle. No single card of that is going to be useful to me. I'm just going to pass and let someone else take some numbers, play some numbers, and maybe when it comes back round to me, I'll still be able to play this really good combo of like 3 cards in a really high numbered situation, maybe 971 or something. Chances are we're not going to get there on 3-digit numbers yet. So I can wait a little bit longer. So passing not only facilitates sort of resetting that big number from time to time, it also can be an underused opportunity to not pick up something that would be bad for you or hard to play at least. Because you've got to do sort of multiple rounds to hit that sort of even 10 or 15 number, you can probably hit 10 in sort of like maybe 3 rounds, 15, maybe you do need to play that 4th round, that sort of thing. But, if the right person all like wins at different times, maybe it's 5 rounds that you've got to do to get to that mark. It does mean that you do need a pen and paper or to note things down on your phone, because there are no components in the box to track that. It would have been quite nice if they'd just had sort of a small cheat sheet that you could have had some 1s, 3s, 5s, 10s, that sort of stuff on there, so you could have just passed points out. That would have been quite nice sort of as an inclusion. It's not really necessary. Lots of old school card games do this, where you just need to note something down on a bit of paper or on your phone, and pretty much everyone's got that these days. But it would have been a nice inclusion that's not in the box. The theming kind of splits me. I really do like the sort of the Viking drawings and the artwork on the cards. I think that's really cool, although you're not necessarily looking at them too much while you're playing. I find you're kind of just caring about the colour of them, like the cards. But I like the theming. It also doesn't really do much for the game. It's a Viking theme. It could have been cars. It could have been planets. It could have been pretty much anything. It doesn't add to the game. It doesn't help teach the game or anything like that. But it's a nice sort of fairly pleasant theme. And as Vikings go, it's a fairly sort of tame, family-friendly Viking, which you kind of would expect from Helvetiq and this sort of small box sort of line of cards. It's sort of cartoony, family-friendly, Viking-y sort of stuff. It's a pleasant one. It's just also, it doesn't do anything necessarily big and bold for the game itself. So if you're looking for a card game that's probably going to work really well with families, or for just those game nights where you want that lighter game, maybe that filler game, well, I think Odin could be a good fit for you. It's not going to be sort of absolutely crushing your brain as you're just sorting a few numbers into an order and go, well, that's bigger than that, I can play it. There's, you know, you've got that sort of extra thing of having to pick up a card, so sometimes passing is worthwhile, and sometimes you look at them and go, oh, I could play those numbers as a set of sort of two numbers of the same, two cards of the same number. This time I'm playing 3 pink cards, that sort of stuff. I like that sort of the way you can play those sets and the numbers build up and then it gets reset back down and different things like that, and you're trying to not have cards. Super intuitive, super quick and easy to teach, so really fun on that aspect. And well, with a shortish sort of playtime, you can then decide, do you want to go for 10, 15, 20 points as that limiter, and you can use that to sort of shrink or lengthen the game to your sort of wishes, or maybe even to the amount of time you've got before that other person joins for a bigger game that game night. Let me know if you've played Odin in the comments section below, and I hope this review has helped you sort of know if it would be for you or not. As with a lot of the Helvetiq games, it comes in a small box, it's super portable, and it's pretty nice light family goodness. And until next time, well, have an Odin-filled Viking-y good day.